right, let's set the scene. Imagine you're in a foreign land, and it's in the middle of this just devastating famine. You're there begging for food from literally the second most powerful man on the planet. This Egyptian governor, he holds your life in his hands. You and your brothers are completely at his mercy. But here's the kicker. What you don't know is that he's the very same brother you sold into slavery 2 decades ago.
So that brings us to the central question, right? How do you face the family that just left you for dead? What happens in that moment of truth? Is this going to be about revenge, or is it something else entirely? The emotional weight here is it's immense. So let's dive in and break down exactly how this whole thing unfolds. Okay, so for weeks now, this powerful governor, Joseph, has been putting on a show. He's been testing his brothers, playing a part, seeing if they've changed. But now, after seeing their genuine remorse, that dam of emotion he's built up for years, it's about to burst. This is the moment. All that pain, all that longing, everything he's suppressed is about to come rushing to the surface. He just can't hold it in any longer. So Joseph, this powerful governor, he orders every single Egyptian attendant out of the room. He's like, everybody out. This isn't about state business anymore. This is raw. It's intensely personal. And then she just breaks down. He weeps so loudly that everyone outside, even people in Pharaoh's own house, can hear him. He needed this to be a private moment, just him and his family.
And then he drops the bombshell. He says, I am Joseph. But listen to his very first question. It's not, why did you do this to me? It's not, do you have any idea what I've been through? Nope. The first words out of his mouth are, is my father still alive? I mean, after 20 years of being separated, his first thought, his immediate concern is for his dad, Jacob. You could have heard a pin drop. The silence must have been absolutely deafening. His brothers are just completely stunned. They can't even speak. The text says they were troubled, but let's be real. You can imagine what was really going on. Pure shock, absolute terror, and this overwhelming wave of guilt. The man who holds their lives in his hands is the brother they betrayed. Their past just came crashing down on them in the most dramatic way imaginable. All right, now this is where the story takes a turn that, honestly, nobody could have seen coming. I mean, you'd expect judgment, right? Maybe some well-deserved revenge. But instead, Joseph does something incredible. He offers one of the most profound acts of, reframing in all of history. He's about to completely change how his brothers see the terrible thing they did. And he doesn't beat around the bush. He looks them in the eye and says, I am your brother whom you sold into Egypt. He doesn't sugarcoat it at all. But then he does something absolutely amazing. He tells them not to be upset with themselves. Think about that. He sees their guilt, and his very first instinct is to make them feel better. He's actually comforting the people who betrayed him. And this slide really gets to the heart of it. He puts their action, you sold me, right next to his perspective, God sent me. He takes this horrible, malicious thing they did and completely reframes it as a crucial part of a bigger divine plan, a plan to keep everyone alive. He's basically telling them, look, what you meant for evil, God used for good. So you might be asking, what's the big rush? Well, Joseph reveals a really critical piece of information. This famine, it's only been going on for 2 years. There are still 5 more years of this to come. That's 5 years with no planting, no harvest, nothing. So this isn't just about healing old wounds. It's about survival. It's about securing the future, and the clock is ticking. And he just keeps hammering this point home. He lands on this final, crucial idea. So now, it was not you that sent me here, but God. He truly believes that his suffering, his rise to power, becoming an advisor to Pharaoh and lord of the whole house, all of it was part of a master plan. And it's that perspective, that belief, that allows him to forgive so completely. And this isn't just talk, He doesn't just offer forgiveness and leave it at that. He gives them a concrete plan for survival. It's a super clear 5-step plan. Go to my father, tell him the unbelievable news. Bring him and all your households, everybody, down to me. Settle in this great land of Goshen, and I will personally take care of you there. Well, you know how it is. Word of a dramatic family reunion like this, it travels fast. And it reaches the top, the ears of Pharaoh himself. So what's his reaction? Is he mad? Nope. He's not just okay with it. He's actually thrilled, which just goes to show you the kind of incredible respect and standing Joseph had in Egypt. So Pharaoh doesn't just give it the rubber stamp of approval, he actually makes the offer even better. He commands them to come, promises them the absolute best of the land, and even tells them, hey, don't even worry about packing up all your stuff. Why? Because the best of everything in Egypt is now yours for the taking. He even throws in the transportation, official royal wagons to bring everyone down.
Okay, so with the full backing of the Egyptian government, Joseph gets his brothers ready for the journey back home to Canaan. And he doesn't send them empty-handed. He sends them off with all these gifts that serve two purposes, really. They're proof that his crazy story is true, and they're a clear sign of his forgiveness and his love.
And it's really interesting when you look at the details of these gifts. Every single brother gets a brand new set of clothes, kind of like a symbol of a fresh start, right? But Benjamin, his only full brother, he gets the VIP treatment, 300 pieces of silver and 5 sets of clothes. And for his father, Jacob, he sends a whole caravan loaded with the best goods from Egypt, plus tons of food. It's a powerful message of honor and just abundance.
Then, just as they're about to leave, Joseph gives them one last, really poignant piece of advice. He knows these guys. He knows their history of fighting and jealousy and blaming each other. So he basically says, look, don't fall out, by the way. He's telling them the past is done, it's forgiven. Don't spend the whole trip home arguing about who was most to blame for all this. It's a simple plea to just move forward together.
Okay, so now the scene shifts. The brothers make it back to Canaan, and now they have to face their father Jacob. They're not just carrying supplies, they're carrying this piece of news that is so massive, so staggering, that it could either completely shatter him or heal him for good. I mean, can you even imagine hearing these words? Put yourself in Jacob's shoes for a second. For 20 years, you've believed your favorite son was brutally killed by a wild animal. And now, your other sons, the very ones who lied to you all those years ago, show up and deliver this absolutely impossible news. Joseph isn't just alive. He's the governor of all of Egypt, the most powerful nation on the planet.
And his reaction is physical. It's immediate. The text says his heart fainted. He basically goes numb. This wasn't a moment of joy, not at first. It was just pure shock. His mind was literally refusing to process something that he had accepted as impossible for decades. After 20 years of grieving, the very idea of hope was probably more painful than anything else.
But then, something changes. The brothers realize that just saying it isn't enough. They have to provide proof. And this is the real turning point, where Jacob's deep, long-held grief finally starts to crack, making way for this tiny glimmer of unbelievable hope. So what finally convinces him? It's a 1-2 punch. First, they tell him everything Joseph said, all the detailed personal messages that only his son would know. But the real clincher? It's the physical proof. When Jacob sees those official Egyptian wagons sent by Pharaoh himself to carry him, that's when he knows it has to be true. Seeing is believing, and that tangible evidence is what finally revives his spirit. And that's the moment. That's the emotional peak of this whole story. He says, it is enough. The proof is there. The grieving is finally over. His son is alive. Jacob, a man who has been defined by this terrible loss for so long, suddenly has a new, final purpose for his life. I will go and see him before I die. So, when you boil it all down, this entire incredible story hinges on one thing: Joseph's radical choice to see his own trauma through a different lens. He chose forgiveness instead of revenge, and revenge would have destroyed his family. But his forgiveness kicked off a plan of salvation that saved every single one of them. Which really leaves us with a powerful question to think about. Can an act of forgiveness not only heal the past, but actually rewrite the future?